Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of 6 for 6, ladies and gentlemen. We had a interesting week that took us on, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, in episode 10 of season 4. But our last week's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we went the horrific average of what we do on their show. We went 3 for 3, ladies and gentlemen. A very, very tough week in our predictions. Teams start to blunder at the worst times, which made it interesting in the world of college football, which makes this week even better for even more possible upsets because we're deep in spooky season. You know what happens in spooky seasons now, ladies and gentlemen? The upsets, the things that happen out of nowhere, the freaks of things that happen in the world of college football. But with that record of last week of going 3 for 3, changes our overall record for season 4, ladies and gentlemen, to 33, 25, and 1. So we're still looking good in the wins columns, but we are probably episode ahead compared to going like 0-6 and still, in the positive in this direction. But this week we're taking a little bit more of a gamble of the upsets in this world of college football. Without further ado, let's dive into it. First up, ladies and gentlemen, in their 6th slot, we have Maryland versus UCLA Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. in Pacific Time on FS1. Ladies and gentlemen, UCLA is on the rise, taking care of fierce Big Ten opponents, knocking off Penn State, taking care of Michigan State in convincing fashions. The Penn State one was a little bit hairy, but they got the dub. They made a statement with Michigan State, but keep in mind, they lost to Northwestern. Now, if we look at Maryland, on the other hand, they lose to Nebraska, they lose to Washington, but take care of Wisconsin. So if we're looking within the Big Ten play, Washington's only losses to Ohio, and Ohio State shut them down. But Maryland was 4 points shy in this game. Now, if we look at the Penn State game for UCLA, it was home for them, which makes it interesting. They're home again in Pasadena, and Maryland's going into play. I think I agree with the winning percentage of 50% for Maryland to win it. But, guys, this is getting very interesting. If UCLA keeps running the table, they have a shot to reach the Big Ten title game based off their conference record alone, because that's what's needed to get into the Big Ten title. So if they keep winning out, there's a chance for them to get in. Maryland, on the other hand, they need some help to reach this moment, but they need teams to lose. But their record right now is 4-2, which is not bad compared to UCLA's 2-4. It's like a completely day and night shift if we were going to look at the between conference record between these schools. But I like Maryland taking care of business in this matchup. So you can catch Maryland, UCLA Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on FS1. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we got some ranked matchups going here. We got number 23 Utah versus number 15 BYU Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Fox, ladies and gentlemen. Utah has made a statement by taking care of Arizona State, beating up on West Virginia, but having that embarrassing loss to Texas Tech as we look at conference play. Now, if we look at BYU, they beat Arizona in double overtime. They took care of West Virginia, and they took care of Colorado. They beat Colorado by 3. They, took care of West Virginia 38-24 versus, Arizona going into that overtime with 33-27. But I'm looking at let's say, ladies and gentlemen, the West Virginia matchup. That is a key indicator on how good this Utah team can be. They held West Virginia, Utah to 14 points, where BYU held them to 24 points. Utah put up more points, 48 points compared to BYU's 38 points. I like Utah in this matchup. When their defense can turn up, they can shut teams down. If you look outside of Texas Tech, their defense is holding teams to two possessions, and that's it. And BYU can't say the same. So I like Utah's defense in this one and taking care of the chance of victory. Even though BYU is a 51% chance of favorite, I like that Utah defense to take care of business to shut down BYU in this matchup. So you can catch number 23 Utah versus number 15 BYU Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Fox, ladies and gentlemen. And I have Utah winning this matchup. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we go into the next game. We got number 20 USC takes on number 13 Notre Dame Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on NBC. Ladies and gentlemen, USC took care of that team up north in a convincing fashion of 31-13. Now Notre Dame has been rolling. That defense has been locking teams out against North Carolina State, holding them to 7, holding to Boise State to 7, Arkansas to 13, Purdue to 30, but A&M giving up over 41 points. However, ladies and gentlemen, USC coming off of bye to Michigan, well needed after a tough loss to Illinois, but then they took care of Michigan State and Purdue in a little different fashion. Notre Dame has that better defense. It's going to be very tough for USC to do it, but I think having that victory over Michigan, and Michigan has a solid defense at times, I think USC is going to try to find a way to win it, but it's a stretch, ladies and gentlemen. It is an absolute stretch, even though USC is 5-1 this year compared to Notre Dame's 4-2. Give me USC to take care of this one, and that is going to be it for that one. It's going to be very close, very difficult for USC to get this one out, but I think can do it on the road in Notre Dame. Next up in our third slot, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Tennessee Volunteers, who are number 11 in the nation, versus Alabama, who's number 6. Catch this game Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. Conference play, ladies and gentlemen, Alabama's 3-0. The tide is rolling. And for Tennessee, they're 2-1. The thing that we got to look at, ladies and gentlemen, is that Georgia victory for both of these institutions. Losing into overtime, Tennessee has a high-powered offense, but Alabama's defense is starting to turn it on and keep teams at bay and win key moments for them to win these games. And I think that defense is going to show up again in Tuscaloosa to keep Tennessee at bay, even though Tennessee can score on a blink of an eye. It's definitely going to be one of those matchups where we're going to be at the edge of our seats, coming down to the wire, and flags and key penalties will decide this game. And I think Alabama is going to find a way to get the job done in this one. So you can catch Tennessee, number 11 in the nation, versus number 6 Alabama, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And lastly, but our second game, ladies and gentlemen, before we reveal the game of the week, we got LSU, number 10 in the nation, versus number 17 Vanderbilt, ladies and gentlemen. It is a tough one for Vanderbilt right now, ladies and gentlemen. This game's at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on ABC. LSU has a very tall task in their hands. Losing to Ole Miss 24-19, but taking care of South Carolina 20-10. However, keep Vanderbilt in mind. They held South Carolina 7 points, which is why I like this matchup right here. That 7-point held for Vanderbilt gives me the edge for them to take care of business against LSU, even though LSU can find ways to win. But I just like that matchup for LSU, for Vanderbilt in this one. I think LSU is going to blunder and get upset, even though the chance to win has Vanderbilt with a 60% chance of victory. I like Vanderbilt to win this one. You can get number 10 LSU versus number 17 Vanderbilt at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on ABC. Before we reveal the game of the week, let's get a quick recap, and we can get you on to the game of the week. First up, ladies and gentlemen, in our 6th slot, we have Maryland versus UCLA, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on FS1. I have Maryland winning it. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have number 23 Utah versus number 15 BYU. Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Fox. And give me Utah to win this one. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have number 20 USC versus number 13 Notre Dame. Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on NBC. And I have USC winning this matchup. Next up, in our third slot, we have number 11 Tennessee versus number 6 Alabama on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC, and I have Alabama winning it. That tide is going to keep rolling on, ladies and gentlemen. And our second game, ladies and gentlemen, of the week, number 10 LSU versus number 17 Vanderbilt. Saturday, noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on ABC, and I have Vanderbilt winning this matchup. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the game of the week. Number 5, Ole Miss. Glory to old Georgia, who's number 9 in the nation. You can catch this game at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Georgia got that one loss out of their system. Now they're starting to wake up. The dog is starting to bark. They took care of Auburn 20-10. They took care of Kentucky 35-14. Now, if we look at Ole Miss, they took care of Washington State 24-21. LSU 24-19. Tulane 45-10. Arkansas 41-35. Kentucky 30-30 up to 23. The game we're looking at in comparison, ladies and gentlemen, is that Kentucky matchup. Georgia's defense is better than Ole Miss's defense, but the question is the offense. I think Ole Miss's offense will stall and Georgia will play Georgia defense and keep them at bay. And I think Georgia will make sure they at least get somewhere in the 20s, if not mid-30s in this matchup for this key victory to keep Ole Miss in at bay on this one. Even though Georgia is a 69% chance of winning this one, I like that too. But we're looking at conference play, and Georgia needs to keep winning so they don't have any issues in the SEC appearing in the SEC title game. And Ole Miss would like to keep winning so they don't have any issues for their shot at the SEC title game. But I like Georgia to win this one. So you can catch number 5, Ole Miss versus number 9, Georgia at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And let's get a quick recap of our picks and recap from last week's episodes. And we'll get you on out of here so you can enjoy your week 8 of college football. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in our 6th slot, we have number unranked Maryland versus UCLA Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on FS1. Next up, we have number 23. And ladies and gentlemen, for that Maryland game, I have Maryland winning it. Next up, we have number 23 Utah versus number 15 BYU. You can catch this game 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Fox. And I have Utah winning this matchup. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, in our 4th slot, we have USC, who's number 20 in the nation, versus number 13 Notre Dame. Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on NBC. And I have USC winning it. In our 3rd slot, we have number 11 Tennessee versus number 6 Alabama. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And I have Alabama winning it. In our 2nd slot, we have number 10 LSU versus number 17 Vanderbilt. Noon Eastern Time is kickoff and 9 a.m. Pacific Time as well on ABC. And I have Vanderbilt winning this matchup. And ladies and gentlemen, the game of the week. We have number 5 Ole Miss versus number 9 glory to old Georgia. You can catch this game 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And I have glory to old Georgia to win this matchup in this one, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, last episode, we were in 3-4-3, ladies and gentlemen. And that changes our overall record to 33, 25, and 1. Thank you so much for supporting 6 for 6 as we advance deeper into the remaining part of the college football season. We'll continue to give you some great matchups for the college football weekend for you to watch and enjoy. So we'll catch you here next time on 6 for 6. So long for now. Bye-bye.